What if I told you? The reason you're always hurt isn't because people are cruel. It's because you've been trained to abandon yourself. Every silence that shatters you, every rejection that breaks you, every moment you feel unseen, unheard, not enough. It has less to do with them and everything to do with an invisible part of you that still believes you're not worthy of peace. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." You're not weak. You're not broken. You're just carrying pain that was never fully yours to begin with. In this video, you'll discover how to reclaim your power through the wisdom of Carl Jung and Zen psychology. You'll learn why nothing and no one can truly disturb your peace once you awaken to who you really are. So if you've ever asked, why does this always hurt so much? The answer starts right here. Most people spend their entire lives trying to control what happens outside. Their job, their partner, their reputation, their routines, but they never stop to notice. The real battle is inside your emotions, your reactions, the invisible weight you carry every day. Carl Jung didn't teach us to escape our pain. He taught us to meet it, feel it, and learn from it. Because your wounds are not the end of your story, they are the beginning. They're invitations to awaken, to remember, to return to yourself. And the truth is, the version of you that feels triggered, afraid, or unseen isn't who you truly are. It's who you became to survive. But what if survival is no longer enough? In this video, you'll discover how to go beyond survival. You'll learn how to dismantle the beliefs that secretly run your life, how to recognize your emotional triggers without being ruled by them, and how to access a deeper part of yourself. A place of unshakable clarity and peace, even in the middle of chaos. This isn't a quick fix. It's a transformation, one that begins with awareness, and ends in liberation. And if you're ready to go deeper, to finally understand the patterns behind your pain, and start healing for real, there's something special waiting for you, a carefully crafted guide that expands everything we'll talk about in this video. But it's not just a book, it's a tool to help you break emotional cycles that no one ever taught you how to escape. You'll find the link in the pinned comment below. Also, this channel is a space for deep emotional freedom and inner truth. If that's what your soul is seeking, subscribe now and allow these videos to meet you where you are, so you can grow into who you're meant to be. Now take a breath. Be here. Let's begin. There's a moment in life when you realize you've been reacting more than choosing. When your day, your moods, your self-worth seem to rise and fall based on what others do, what they say, or worse, what they don't say. One silence from someone you care about and suddenly your mind spirals. One rejection and your confidence evaporates. One disapproving glance and shame spreads like wildfire. But here's what most people never question. Why does this affect me so deeply? Carl Jung believed that nothing truly external has the power to break us, unless it resonates with something unresolved inside. And that's where your inner script lives, a silent narrative written long ago, often without your permission. It's not just a collection of thoughts, it's the story you live by. And until you rewrite it, you'll keep handing your power to the world outside. Think about it. When someone doesn't answer your message, your mind might say, "I'm not important." But where did that voice come from? Who made you believe that being ignored equals being worthless? It wasn't the moment, it was the meaning you gave to the moment. And that meaning came from somewhere deep, somewhere old. Many of us were raised in environments where emotions were misunderstood, where expressing needs was labeled as too much, and where love often came with conditions. Over time, you learned to adapt. You shaped yourself into someone likable, agreeable, careful. You wore the masks, you played the roles. You became whatever was required to avoid abandonment, disappointment, or rejection. This adaptation wasn't weakness, it was survival. But here's the problem. You never stopped. Now as an adult, you keep living through that same lens. You overthink every interaction. You try to please everyone, even when it exhausts you. You suppress your truth just to keep the peace. You apologize for existing too loudly. And deep down, you feel that your worth is still on trial, every day, in every situation. That is the unconscious script Jung warned about. A script written in childhood, edited by trauma, narrated by fear. And as long as it stays hidden, it keeps playing, on repeat. But here's the radical truth. You're allowed to rewrite the story. You're allowed to question every belief that was handed to you, especially the ones that hurt. You're not too much. You were never too sensitive, and you don't need to earn the right to be at peace. The reason your wounds still sting is not because you're weak, but because you haven't been taught how to decode them. Jung said that the unconscious doesn't just sit quietly, it acts. When ignored, it creates emotional chaos. But when embraced, it becomes your greatest teacher. Think of your emotional triggers not as flaws but as messengers. That panic you feel before speaking your truth. That's not your current self. It's your past self still trying to protect you. That jealousy that catches you off guard? It's not ugliness. It's a compass pointing toward parts of you that crave attention, recognition, growth. The people who trigger you the most are often mirrors, reflecting back the exact parts of your shadow that are asking to be seen, healed, integrated. You don't heal by running away from the storm. You heal by standing still in the middle of it, watching it, listening to it, and realizing that you are not the storm, you are the sky. And this shift in awareness is where your true power begins. You see, emotional freedom doesn't mean never feeling pain again. It means not being enslaved by it. It means noticing the waves of emotion without drowning in them. It means creating space between the feeling and your reaction. That space, that's where transformation lives, and it begins with one honest question. Whose voice is this? Is it really yours? Or did it belong to a parent who couldn't regulate their own emotions? A teacher who shamed your creativity? A world that told you to be smaller just to be accepted? Every time you pause and ask this question, you take a piece of yourself back. You detach your self-worth from other people's behavior. You stop negotiating your value. And you start building a new foundation, not from pain, but from presence. Let's be clear, this is not easy work. It's not a quick fix, but it's the only path that leads to real peace. Not surface-level calm, not forced positivity, but grounded, embodied, unshakable inner peace. Carl Jung called this journey individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, not who the world taught you to be. And the first step on that path is this: stop reacting to life from your wounds and start responding from your wisdom. Because the moment you do, everything begins to change. It's one thing to understand that your reactions come from within, but it's another thing entirely to practice inner distance, to observe without identifying, to feel without becoming the feeling, to allow yourself to hurt, but not collapse into the hurt. This is the path to emotional sovereignty, and it's where true healing begins. Carl Jung taught that every person is carrying within them an entire psychic universe, an inner world that most never take the time to explore. When you don't examine your own mind, it's easy to mistake your pain as truth. You think, I feel worthless, so I must be, or I feel anxious, so something must be wrong. But feelings are not facts. They are signals, responses. Not to the present moment, but to how your unconscious is interpreting it. Let's take a step back. Imagine someone cancels plans with you. A minor event, right? But suddenly, you're spiraling. They don't like me. I must have done something wrong. I'm being rejected. And in that moment, your whole nervous system goes into overdrive. But is it the event or the meaning? Your mind isn't reacting to the cancellation. It's reacting to what that act represents to your inner child. Maybe abandonment, maybe being forgotten, maybe being unworthy. What's happening isn't about now, it's about then. This is why you must learn to create space between stimulus and response, not to suppress, not to fake calm, but to observe, feel, and pause. That pause is everything. In that pause, you interrupt the old program. You stop living on autopilot. You stop letting every trigger yank your self-esteem up and down like a puppet on strings. That pause is where you shift from emotional reaction to conscious choice. Zen calls this non-attachment, not because you stop caring, but because you stop clinging. You stop depending on outcomes to determine your peace. You begin to see that people's opinions are not your truth. That silence doesn't equal rejection. That discomfort doesn't always mean danger. Inner distance allows you to look at your emotions like clouds passing in the sky. You notice them, you feel them, but you don't lose yourself in them, and over time this awareness builds resilience, not numbness, not detachment, but grounded clarity. Here's the paradox. The more space you give your emotions to move through you, the less power they have to control you. Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." That darkness is your shadow, the unmet needs, the fears, the guilt, the shame you've buried, the parts you've labeled as too much, too weak, too inconvenient. But until you sit with these parts, they will keep hijacking your present. They'll disguise themselves as jealousy, defensiveness, overthinking, and emotional fatigue. They'll sabotage your relationships. And worst of all, they'll convince you that this is just who you are. But you are not your defense mechanisms. You are not your patterns. You are not your wounds. You are the one who is capable of witnessing, understanding, and transforming all of them. So how do you begin? Start with your triggers. Every emotional overreaction is an invitation. It says, hey, there's something here that hasn't healed. When someone ignores you and you feel rage, ask, what part of me still feels invisible? When someone sets a boundary and you feel rejected, ask, where did I learn that love equals constant access? When life feels uncertain and you panic, ask, what belief is telling me that control equals safety? These are not casual questions. These are doorways into deep self-knowledge. Jungian psychology isn't about fixing yourself. It's about understanding the language of your soul. That's the heart of inner distance, the ability to become the compassionate observer of your own mind, not to judge, not to analyze with cold logic, but to witness with presence. Because when you understand that your triggers are not proof that something's wrong with you, but that something inside you wants to be seen, everything changes. You stop saying, I'm broken. You start asking, what is this moment trying to reveal to me? You stop chasing peace by controlling everyone else. You start cultivating peace by staying anchored inside yourself. And from this place, a beautiful shift begins to unfold. You stop being terrified of your emotions. You stop fearing discomfort. You stop outsourcing your healing to people who can't give you what you've been denying yourself. Attention, validation, compassion, safety. You become your own safe place, and that is unshakable. Imagine someone criticizes you. The old you reacts instantly, defends, collapses, doubts yourself. The new you pauses, breathes, observes the emotion arise, and then responds, not from the wound, but from the wisdom. That's the power of presence. That's the path of inner freedom. And that's why inner distance isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about creating enough space to respond to life with intention, not old conditioning, because when you live in that space, no one has the power to steal your peace. No one has the power to define your worth. No one has the power to control how you feel, except you. And this isn't just philosophy. It's the foundation of every truly free life. There comes a point on the healing journey when you realize it's not enough to understand your wounds. You must also stop letting them run your life. This is where most people get stuck. They gain insight, read the books, go to therapy, watch videos like this one, but their behavioral patterns stay the same. Why? Because insight is not integration. Real transformation happens when you begin to respond differently. When a familiar trigger appears, and instead of falling into the same spiral, you pause and choose a new path. This moment right here is where healing becomes power. Let's be honest, emotional habits are strong. They're built through repetition, and they serve a function. Maybe you became overly accommodating because it kept you safe. Maybe you developed emotional walls because vulnerability once hurt you. Maybe anger became your armor because sadness felt too exposed. These patterns were born for survival, but now they're keeping you from connection, from freedom, from peace. Carl Jung called this the compulsion to repeat. The unconscious mind tries to resolve old pain, by recreating it, hoping for a different outcome. That's why people date the same type of person, stay in jobs that drain them, react the same way in conflict. It's not a coincidence. It's the unconscious trying to heal without consciousness. So what does it take to end the cycle? First, you must learn to recognize the pattern in the moment it happens, not an hour later, not the next day, right there. As the wave rises, you feel dismissed. The urge to defend yourself kicks in. You want to prove your worth, but instead, you stop, you feel, you breathe, and you choose presence over programming. It sounds small, but this is how we rewire ourselves, and it doesn't mean you'll never feel reactive again. It means your relationship with reactivity changes. You start to meet your emotions with awareness, not panic, with curiosity, not shame. This is what Jung meant by making the unconscious conscious. It's the choice to no longer abandon yourself every time you feel something uncomfortable. Let's take a common example. Someone criticizes you. Old pattern, you shrink, get defensive, replay the conversation in your mind for hours, maybe spiral into shame or self-doubt. But now, with awareness, you pause, you ask, why does this affect me so deeply? What story is this criticism activating inside me? Maybe it's not about this person at all. Maybe it's about your father, or a teacher, or a wound that said, you're only lovable if you're perfect. Once you see the deeper origin, the trigger begins to lose power. Because now you're not reacting to this moment. You're responding from awareness of your whole story. If today's message stirred something deep within you, if it made you pause and reflect or feel seen in a way few things ever have, then know this, your healing journey is already unfolding. And if you're ready to go deeper, to understand the patterns that keep repeating, to gently uncover the beliefs you've inherited but never chose, to walk a path of clarity, courage, and conscious transformation, then the Depths of Self-Mastery eBook was created for you. Inside, you won't find surface-level tips or generic advice, only powerful insights, timeless wisdom, and practical tools that will help you meet the parts of yourself you've long avoided, and finally integrate them. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. The link is waiting for you in the pinned comment below. You'll know if it's meant for you the moment you start reading. And if this resonated, make sure to subscribe. This space exists to support your transformation every step of the way. You're not broken. You're becoming. Let's walk this path together.